everyone. I'm Jared Samuels, and welcome to another episode of What's Behind the Game. Today we have Scott Newton, who is a pro golfer. I believe our first pro golfer on the show. So welcome, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, great having you. First question is, how did you get into golf? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so I started playing when I was 15, and it kind of happened by accident. I was a big baseball player, and I really thought baseball for a while there was going to be my thing. And then middle of summer, it's like 105 degrees outside. One of my teammates at the time actually just kind of, just thinking outside the box. Let's go play some golf. And I went with it. Sort of kind of got dragged out there, but I was just in love with it immediately. That's just pretty much it.
Was that a hard transition to make? Because I think the baseball swing and the golf swing are pretty different, right? Or
they're a little bit different, but honestly, I didn't really think so. I mean, I felt like I needed to pick one for sure. And the big difference was I just loved playing golf more than I loved practicing golf. I loved playing golf. I loved everything about it. And baseball was more of I just loved playing the game, but not really the practicing. And yeah, so that was. But once I got into it and committed to it 100%, it was not a hard transition to make at all. And I still feel like I can hit a baseball too. So.
Yeah. Was it difficult starting? I guess your freshman year in high school, right? Was that difficult?
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I was really motivated because I really wanted to be good at it. So I loved playing it as a foundation, but I wanted to play with the guys on the high school team, and I played at Hebron High School, and at the time we were really good. We had some good players, guys that went to LSU and Oklahoma, and so we had a really competitive team, and I just practiced all the time. I was a kid, wanted to succeed at it, wanted to play with everybody.
Yeah. So what was your practice schedule like then, since you're kind of playing catch up?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically so it was block scheduling in my high school. So I had fourth period, basically all 4 years of high school. And so I'd go to school from, 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock and then go to the golf course till dark. And I always loved the summertime because the sun would stay up longer,
Mm-hmm.
It's like when that daylight savings time thing happens, that's what I don't like.
Yeah.
Stay out constantly.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. But at night, you can pretty much only do the driving range, right? I would imagine.
I mean, I can pick in no matter what time of the year it is. But this time of the year, I do spend a lot more time on the driving range for sure. Working on things that I want to get better at going each year. So.
What were some of the challenges you faced in moving up in the ranks?
I mean, I think just understanding what 18 holes of good golf is, what that looks like, what that feels like, I think was the hardest thing for me. And that's one of those things where it's just continuing to get used to being out there, playing a lot of golf, and just sort of trial and error. Just committing to playing golf a lot. It takes a long time to get good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge. Just really just understanding who I was and how to improve. And I still learn every day. Every year is always a learning experience.
Yeah, definitely.
There's something that I love about golf because it's something you just can't master, no matter how hard you try, and we all know that. And there's just always something to be learned every time we go.
Yeah, who are some of the guys you watch or look up to?
Honestly, I try to take pieces from all of the best players in the world. I think the first player I was kind of mesmerized by, I guess, was Adam Scott. When I went to my first PGA Tour event, Byron Nelson, when I think I was like 16, 17. He was like that first guy that I just saw him swing, and I was just like, okay, I'll be following you the rest of the day. And but I mean, there's others too. Tiger's obviously he's incredible. It's just sort of just goes without saying at this point. But yeah, Tiger. I played a couple times with Jordan Spieth growing up in the Dallas area, which is cool. Yeah, I mean, I really do. I try to do my homework when it comes to all the golfers out there that are the best in the world. I try to pay attention to see what it is that they're doing, and it's the little stuff that they do really, really well. The gap between the best players in the world and the ones playing on mini tours, it really isn't that wide. They just do those all the little things of the game really, really well, and they're very methodical and very mentally strong too.
Yeah. So I wanted to break the game down into I guess the three component parts that I think of: drives, game, and then putting. How do you work on each of those aspects?
Yeah, so I spend the majority of my time on short game, wedge play, and that's historically something that's held me back. I've sort of always been a confident driver of the ball, and confident from outside 150. And that's just me. I know distance has never been a problem for me. I've had some tournaments where I've gone through the entire 72 hole tournament without having to take a penalty shot, which is just so it just basically, I know that kind of stuff, and it sort of motivates me to work on short game, because I know that's what I need to do in order to succeed at the highest level. And so there's a lot of days where I'll go out I practice at Onion Creek in Austin, Onion Creek Country Club, and I'll just go out to Onion and spend almost 3-4 hours before I actually hit like a full shot, just working on bunker shots, chipping, and I'm still not the best at it necessarily, but like I said, it's a game that is impossible to master, and I know that that's where I'm going to save the strokes personally. So
you're just trying to hit like a particular spot out of a certain number?
Actually, when I'm working on just little chip shots, pitch shots, I try to just really focus on a really tiny spot and keep my mind from wavering from basically that. And it's hard to explain, because I allow distractions to happen, but it's when you start worrying about those said distractions that it influences the shot. Golf is such a mental game, and everybody says it, and there's a reason that everybody says that, though, and reminds you constantly of it. But yeah, I mean, short game is the most precise part of the game, and I mean, it's really hard to find a really, really good PGA Tour player that, especially one that's in like the top 50 in the world, that isn't super sharp with wedges in his hand around the greens. They all know how to roll the rock efficiently, and putting's not luck. That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand. It's funny too, you'll run into somebody who doesn't really play much golf, and the one that I get really consistently is, I'm terrible at driving, but I'm a really good putter. And it's like it's the most simple part of the game. So I feel like a lot of people say it just joking around, but it's kind of a phenomenon, honestly. Like, everybody's a great putter. But like I said, it's not luck. It takes a lot of time. You gotta dedicate yourself to standing over the ball for 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes, just to see the ball go in, and to just make sure that your stroke is feeling good. That's sort of priceless. It's immeasurable, really, how much that can that can help you from a mental standpoint, just seeing the ball go in over and over. And
do you practice like reading the green? So do you just play on
I do, yeah. I practice reading the greens. I especially on Bermuda grass. Grasses are different, sort of across the United States, like bent grass and like the Midwest, and it's a lot simpler. Bermuda is really grainy, so you can kind of see where like the grass is growing basically if you really pay attention to it. And so it may appear to be a left to right breaker, but instead it's going to either hold its line or go in the opposite direction sometimes, if it's really fine Bermuda grass. So yeah, I mean, Onion Creek is Bermuda, so I get a lot of practice on that as it is. But it's really just that, and I like to see the ball go in over and over. I have a putting arc that I use too. It's from a company called iPutt, I think, or something. It's in my truck. I don't really want to go down there and grab it, honestly.
No, you're good.
It's not really that important either.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. No.
There's lots of putting arcs out there. But yeah, little training aids like that I think are really helpful. Sometimes I'll draw like a chalk line on the greens from like 5 feet out and just find like a straight putt like that and just watch the ball roll over that line. And that way I have like this mental image when I get out there during the tournament of just like the line going into the hole. Just like all these little tricks that make a small difference but could potentially shave off a stroke or two, which is what we're all like looking for. We're not trying to shoot 62 every time we play. We're just trying to like, how can we get the most out of each round?
Let's give a little bit.
Exactly.
How do you mentioned the mental side of the game? How do you work on that aspect?
It's a funny question for today because I actually saw a sports psychologist this morning.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I talk to a sports psychologist regularly, and I've been doing that for like a year and a half, 2 years now. Probably something I should have done a long time ago. I see her every 2 weeks, but I mean, we just try to. We go over each tournament round that I play, each finish that I have, and just kind of try to figure out what the best approach is to continue to move things forward. And it's so cheesy, but that's really all we really focus on is just how do we move forward, stay positive, and sort of have like this patient mindset, but also kind of like a sense of urgency and like I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but
yeah. How do you approach, like, if you have a bad shot or a couple bad shots in a row? How do you approach that? Because I'm sure it's easy to, like in baseball, when you're striking out 3 times in a row, it's easy to kind of spiral. How do you try to stay out of that and just move on to the next shot?
We were actually kind of talking about that today, and it's one of the things that I tend to struggle with at times. Like I do a bad job of grading myself while I'm playing, like in the middle of a tournament. If I know that, if I feel like I'm fortunate to be, like we were just talking about a round last week in Dallas where I was 3 under through 12 holes, hadn't made a bogey yet, and ended up bogeying some coming in and shooting only 1 under. But yeah, we were talking about how I was feeling that I was really fortunate to be 3 under at that time, just based off of how I was hitting it, and I was just kind of grading myself without even realizing it as the round was progressing. And so we've been talking a lot about just owning who you are each day on the golf course, and wait for the analyzation and the grading. You just do that at the end of the round of golf. When you're in the clubhouse, maybe after you've had lunch, after you got some food, and then just kind of reflect on it and see what you can do better. And
do you tend to be like too harsh on yourself?
Yeah, I tend to be harsh on myself. Yeah, and like I said, sometimes without even realizing that I am. I'm just like, it's so tricky to what the thoughts that you tell yourself, and just, how you're feeling. You really have to be in tap with it, I guess, when you're out there. And, I think it's just one round of golf, but I think if I could have done it over again, then I would have just, sort of kept my head down and been a little bit more committed to playing the last 5 holes, rather than thinking like, I'm fortunate to be in this situation. Let's see if I can finish it off, kind of, instead of just like one shot at a time. Just give yourself chances, one shot at a time, hit the fairway, hit the green, instead of just like, calculating all this stuff in my mind.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, not only is golf a mental game in and of itself, but you also have the space in between shots that I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of time. You're only actually like swinging for a total of like, maybe a minute and a half by the end of 8 holes. I mean, actually making a movement and hitting the ball.
Yeah.
There's like a routine there, and the routine comes from, the fight or flight kind of thing. You gotta be doing the same thing over and over in order to expect efficiency. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of walking. It's a lot of, you hit a bad shot and you have to wait until you get a chance to hit another good one. And so, that can be really frustrating, but it can also be really rewarding too, because you get into this zone whenever you're feeling good and you've made a couple of putts, the ball's going in, you're hitting fairways, and, you just kind of feel real mellow, and just the game feels real easy. And then it can just suddenly change. It's everything happens so fast in golf, and it's really crazy. And I guess I love watching golf with people who don't play a lot or watch it much, but are interested in it. And just to explain that aspect, like, 2-shot swings can happen, like that, or, somebody can make a double bogey, somebody can make a birdie, and suddenly it's like, instead of feeling like you were way behind this guy, you're like right there with him.
Right there again, yeah.
All in one hole.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'd say that I don't really feel like I'm playing against anybody when I'm out there, especially not. I guess if it's match play, then it would be a little bit different. But yeah, stroke play, it's more of like, I feel like I'm playing against the golf course. I'm trying to pick apart the golf course better than everybody else.
Right. It's kind of a game against yourself and the course.
Exactly.
Versus like another team or something like that.
It only really gets into that scenario when it's like, if you're close to the lead, or, it's a playoff or something like that, where you're, it's basically mano a mano. But,
what do you do outside of just being on the golf course to train? Do you do things outside of it?
Yeah, I probably should work out more than I do, but I don't do much running. That was something that you listed on there. I just do a lot of like, I just try to feel more explosive, I guess. As far as like, when I go through little patches where I work out a lot and when I don't, but when I am in one of those like, let's go phases and modes, it's always like, push-up, squats, a lot of like resistance bands, banded stretching. I do a lot of mobility too. I read Becoming a Supple Leopard and Desk Bound by Kelly Starrett. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
Big believer in him and just what he preaches, as far as like, mobility and strength goes. But yeah, I mean, I just try to feel explosive when I'm out there. I don't like to feel like I'm just kind of like bleh.
Yeah.
When I'm at the golf tournament, I don't like, I don't have like a diet, but I don't eat like KFC or Jack in the Box when I'm at a golf, because I know it's just gonna make me feel like crap. And
yeah,
So it's like my life revolves around like Subway and Jimmy John's and Sunscreen in summertime. Yeah.
Does that just give you does that explosiveness, I guess, give you more power on the drives and stuff like that? Or
yeah, and it's mental too. You just feel better. And a lot of that too is like I just want to feel good when I get to the golf course in tournament morning. But all the time, I don't want to go practice at Onion and feel like crap as I'm getting out there. I like to feel like I'm ready to go. And I think just working out just helps that. I don't think there's any question. As far as that goes, I definitely spent a lot more time actually golfing, practicing and playing, than I do in like the gym. It's sort of like I just take those in, I guess bits and pieces as far as.
Yeah. No, I was curious what your answer would be because it seems like golf is different from the other major sports that I can think of in that respect.
Yeah, definitely. It's you see it on the PGA Tour. There's like a ton of guys that are absolutely ripped and look like they could play rugby, like Brooks Koepka, and then guys like Tim Herron who are just just big fat guys that are awesome. He doesn't want to go work out after a round of golf. Let's go have a burger and a beer kind of a
guy. Yeah. What are some of your favorite memories playing so far? Do you have any standout moments?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few. I guess there was I survived a playoff in 2016 to go to the sectional qualifier of the U.S. Open, and it was in Dallas. It was 8 spots out of a 132 player field, and a bunch of guys shot 70, and it was basically it was 6 spots with 8 players, and it came down I teed off at 7:30 that morning, and there's a morning wave and an afternoon wave, so I finished really early on. And honestly, I didn't really think I was going to get into the playoff, but time just kept going by. I took a nap in the clubhouse, and by 6:30 it was just 8 guys for 6 spots, and then we played.
Okay.
I mean, it was just me and this kid on the last. It was 6. We played 6 holes of overtime basically. And I mean, it's getting dark, and the rules official comes up, and he's just like, "Hey, if we don't have a winner after this hole, we're gonna have to come out tomorrow." And I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where I hit this this crazy punch shot from under a tree, about 140 out with an 8-iron, and just somehow hit it at the flag, and then made the putt for birdie. And it was such a relief and just such a long day of golf. It's probably one of my and I mean, I didn't end up playing in the U.S. Open or anything. Played decent in the sectional, but it was just, I don't know. It was a really cool day of golf to be a part of. I wish I remember the name of the kid that I was playing with, but it was, it was, we kind of knew that we had both just sort of played our hearts out, and it was just, one of us was going to win. And
yeah, just gave everything you had.
Exactly. And
that's cool.
There's been some cool courses that I've played too. I've played Poppy Hills in California for a college tournament, which is Pebble Beach area, and it's kind of hard to be mad when you 3-putt and you see the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
It's it keeps things in perspective when you play really beautiful golf courses like that. But I think one of my real fondest memories is probably just when I first started playing. I the enthusiasm was just, I mean, it was incredible. And I constantly try to remind myself of how I felt that first day playing golf, because that's what keeps me motivated and keeps me moving things forward. That just that upbeat, I don't know if I'm going to be, I don't know how successful I'm going to be at this, but I love it. That's what I know. So yeah, that's really it.
Awesome. So
Lots,
in terms,
tons of great memories mixed in there though too. I could go on all day.
so in terms of moving forward, like where do you hope to go from this point?
Well, I mean, my goal is a PGA Tour, and I play on the All Pro Tour right now. I've got a Canadian Tour Q School coming up the end of March this year, so I'm basically just in the All Pro Tour season starts in the first week of March, so I've got some time to basically in the month of February to just work on what I feel like I need to get better at, and hopefully have a great 2020 and gain some status and eventually get to the PGA Tour. And I'm looking forward to it because every year I've gotten a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, and nothing like no significant leap necessarily, but it's been consistent. I've consistently gotten a little bit better every year, and I'm just hopefully maybe one of these years it will be a significant leap. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean it's really cool that you've even come this far. Just thinking like starting at 15. I mean, a lot of people. When I think of golf, I think of starting when you're like 8.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of later than most people, I guess. But I'm just, I don't know. I guess I try to tell myself that like I'm not that much far behind these guys. Like I started playing when I was 15, so they have some of these guys have like 10 years on me. And I don't know how valuable it would have been for me to start playing at 4 years old.
Right.
How much quicker I would have gotten back, I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that I just started playing when I was at the time. I'm so glad that I went with my friend at the golf course. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a last question we ask everyone, and it's what are your top 3 recommendations for young athletes?
Top 3 recommendations. I was thinking about this, and I mean, I think it's gonna sound cheesy, but I think the most important thing is having fun. Like whatever sport it is that you're playing, you're interested in. Fun will never be a problem if you truly love the game. You'll always want to practice. You'll always want to be out there, and things will work out the way they're supposed to. But that enthusiasm you got to maintain that. You got to maintain that attitude of just positivity and keeping it fun and light, because it is just it's just a sport. It's not it's not the real world, and so that would definitely be one. And I guess for as far as like golf specific stuff, it would just be just I really just stay patient, stay focused, and just don't take yourself too seriously. I'm struggling to think of like a really specific recommendation, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I know for me, like when I first turned pro, I took myself a little bit too seriously. And I think if I could go back, hindsight's always 20/20, but I think I would have just had a little bit more fun and spent a little bit more time practicing and like thinking about the things that I love about the game instead of sort of how much better I could be or something.
Right.
And because it's just I see it all the time too. It's like I turned pro when I was 23 and I'm 29 now, and there are a lot of players that I've sort of crossed paths with that I really liked and thought had a lot of potential that aren't playing anymore, for various reasons. And it's a lot of them I'll hear through friends who are still playing on the tour that they just got tired of it, and now they're doing something completely different, not even in the golf world anymore. And I think if you really love it and you're really having fun, you know, it's always going to be a part of your life.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that's my big recommendation. I don't think it can get much more important than that, honestly.
Definitely. I think with golf, I mean, that's so like, I think it's harder, almost harder in golf versus other sports because you do have that time to ruminate on just just between shots. So that just makes it difficult. You know,
Yeah, you
versus
have all the time to think about your life.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Like if I miss a basket in basketball, I have to run back on defense. Like you know,
Yeah,
I can't think about it long. So
yeah, or football, you can get mad and go hit somebody, or
right. Yeah.
Hockey, you can fight somebody.
Yeah. Golf, you can't, and I mean, unless you're like Happy Gilmore, you can't like throw the club or something.
Yeah, only Happy Gilmore gets to do that.
Yeah. So good. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely, Jared. I appreciate it. Where are you recording from? Just out of curiosity.
My house. So that's why you can hear the dogs in the background. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And one actually just walked in. I'm in an office, and she just opened the door herself and decided to come in here.
Gotcha.
So
I actually just got a dog yesterday. I'm trying to find him. Oh, there he is. Come on, come here. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
This is seriously my new dog who he doesn't have a name. I got him from the shelter yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, and I actually talked to my sports psychologist about this guy, and you know, it's always nice to have healthy distractions.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely, Jared. Take it easy, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yep.